New Mexico Military Institute, Roswell, New Mexico 88201, fall of 1993. Major Jinhadna checked me into my room, walked me through every building on campus, the library, the mess hall, the gym, the alumni office where his office was located. Then we went to the cadet store. He opened an account for me, put $200 in it. I didn't ask where the money came from. Back then, I assumed everything came with the scholarship. I was wrong at that, but I didn't know it yet. He picked up some needed items, like an alarm clock, long johns, shoe brushes, one black, one neutral, kiwi polish, one black, one neutral, and some cotton balls. I didn't know what the cotton balls were used for. He tried to explain. I nodded like I understood. I didn't understand. He took me back to my room, showed me my bunk, military-style bed and mattress, hospital corners. But I want to tell you something. That bed was 10 times much more comfortable than anything I have slept on back in Ghana, and the room had an air condition. I had crossed 7 time zones. I had been awake for 72 hours, and I got into bed that night, and I was gone. The next morning, I woke up at 8 a.m., alarm clock still going off. Morning formation has started at 6 a.m. They've gone to breakfast. The whole regiment were in class by the time I woke up. I told Major Hartman what happened. I told him that I've never used an alarm clock before. In Ghana, I always wake up with my internal clock, meaning I wake up naturally, not the artificial ones here. But by crossing 7 time zones, everything was off. He looked at me and laughed. He understood. My roommate was a young man named Casey Feltz, about 6 feet tall, 220 pounds, linebacker for the NMMI Broncos football team. When I walked into the room, he was on crutches. I asked him what happened. He said he came in fine, but he got his ankle broken during practice. 8 screws and a plate later, he never played football fully again. Casey already knew about me before I arrived. The word had gotten around that there was a new tennis player coming from Ghana, that his older brother has already been at the institute. He was ready for me. The first thing he told me was that understanding the American accent is going to be a problem. He said, Donkor, if you really want to understand what people are saying around you here, go buy some rap music. If you can understand rap, you can understand anything. So the following weekend, I went to the mall, bought myself a Sony Walkman, the one that records, because sometimes I have to record lectures in class. I bought 4 albums, Dr. Dre and Snoop the Chronic, Snoop Dogg, Tupac, and Biggie Smalls. I listened every night, every morning, and any chance in between. About a week into it, I had memorized the prelude to Snoop Dogg's G's and Hustlers, word for word. Now I want you to picture this. Morning formation, cadets standing at attention, troop leaders watching, and I will lean over to one of my rat buddies and whisper, "Hey, ask me what I want to be when I grow up." And they will look at me and then they will say it out loud, loud enough for everybody to hear. Donkor, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I will answer, I want to be a motherfucking hustler. You better ask somebody. The whole formation will erupt every time I deliver this line. Now, on that campus, if anyone uses profanity, they get demerit. They get by demerit. About 10 to 15 demerit points for each word of profanity used. That meant marching tours on the weekend. I said that line in front of troop leaders, regimental commanders. Nobody ever gave me a demerit. I think it was a combination of my accent and complete innocence. I genuinely knew what I was saying was inappropriate. I knew that it made people laugh, and a place where I felt foreign and overwhelmed and lost. Making people laugh felt like belonging. Different troop leaders would call me to their dinner tables just to hear it. Hey, Donkor, what you going to be when you grow up? And I would deliver that line every single time. Dr. Dre, Tupac, Biggie, and Snoop, they saved my life at NMMI. Now back to cotton balls. A few days after I arrived, Casey sat me down. He showed me how to spit shine my shoes. You put kiwi polish on first, then you use your brush. Then you take a cotton ball and dip it in a little water. No, we didn't dip it in water. We spit on it. That's why it's called spit shine. And then you rub it in circles of the toes of the shoe over and over and over until the leather becomes so smooth, so deep, so dark, and reflective that you can see your own face looking back at you, like your silhouette version of you in the shoes. That is what is called spit shine. Casey showed me the technique carefully, step by step. He was proud of his shoes. I listened, I watched, I picked up my cotton balls, and I got to work. What Casey didn't know was that, and what nobody knew at NMMI was that back in Ghana, before I became a tennis player, I used to sign shoes every weekend for a little money. So when Casey showed me how the cotton ball technique works, it came to me completely natural. My hands already knew what to do. Within minutes, my shoes were looking better than his. One of my rat buddies looked at my shoes, then looked at Casey's shoes, then looked back at me, and then said, high speed. High speed was a term used, or was a phrase used at the Institute for somebody that gets it quickly. Someone who picks things up faster than expected. Someone who looks like they have been doing it their whole life. I had been doing it my whole life, they just didn't know it yet. I want to tell you one more thing about that uniform. The first time I put a full uniform on, something shifted. In Ghana, if I didn't speak, you knew immediately that I was from somewhere else. My clothes gave me away. My shoes gave me away. In that uniform, I looked exactly like everyone else. If I didn't open my mouth, nobody knew I was a foreigner. For a boy who had felt foreign since the moment that the Mesa airline plane touched down in Roswell, that uniform was the first time I felt invisible in the best possible way. I belonged somewhere, even if it was only from the outside at first. The inside would catch up. Dre, Biggie, Tupac, and Snoop were making sure of that. Next week, I'm going to tell you about a van ride from Albuquerque back to Roswell, the Burger King that I couldn't eat at, and the 3 hours I cried in the back of a van, and the joke Coach Hardman cracked the next morning that told me everything I needed to know about who he was. This is The Promise, Episode 4, High Speed.